Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Officer, ACP Oluyemi Adejobi, has urged Nigerians to play their part instead of tagging him and the force on social media to complain about police extortion at checkpoints. Adejobi gave the warning in a post on X while reacting to a complaint by an ex-user who lamented their experience during a road trip from Abuja to the southeast region. The ex-user alleged that police personnel extorted motorists heavily and delayed those who refused to give money to them. The ex-user, at Grandmaster_01, posted, "A road trip from Abuja to the SE leaves one in awe of the misdemeanors of your men and officers against motorists. The extortion are mindless. They are reckless in extorting motorists. Our vehicle dropped money at every checkpoint where you risk being parked for a long time." Also, another user, at KingManuel700, posting evidence of N25,000 alleged extorted from him by officers of the Nigeria Police Force in Edo State, wrote, "Help me tag at Prince Moy one I still got extorted too cause I was a victim even when I showed them my NYC ID card." However, reacting to the complaints, the police spokesperson said Nigerians should refuse to bribe police personnel, instead tagging him and the NPF after giving money to the police. According to him, they should rather choose to be delayed in their journeys than give bribes to police officers at checkpoints, and then resort to tagging him and the police authorities on social media. He said, "We all need to play our role to curb the menace of extortion. This matter has been addressed severally. It's better to be delayed at their points than to dignify corruption or extortion. Why was your vehicle dropping money at every point? Even you, with your comment here, you are educated. What did you do to discourage that? Let's act wise and be patriotic, not to just come here and be tagging PriceMoy1 or NPF." The force spokesperson's warning comes amid public outcry of police extortion and brutality against unsuspecting Nigerians and motorists in southeast Nigeria and across the country. In August, Sahara reporters reported how students of the Ebonyi State University, EBSU, expressed concerns over alleged police extortion, harassment, and intimidation in Abakaliki, the Ebonyi state capital, and its surrounding areas in the southeast. The students noted that the actions by the police had become a significant source of distress. They argued that it was troubling to see the police engaging in behaviors that undermined their constitutional roles. They described the situation as worrisome and unbecoming, stressing that the police actions are a stark deviation from their duty to ensure public safety. The statement made by Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Officer, ACP Oluyemi Adejobi, urging Nigerians not to bribe police officers and then turn around to complain about police extortion, highlights a growing tension between citizens and law enforcement in Nigeria. This news report reveals the challenges of corruption within the police force, while placing responsibility on citizens to resist participating in this corrupt system. This discussion arises from multiple reports on social media platforms, where users express frustration about being extorted at police checkpoints. One particular ex-user narrated how a road trip from Abuja to the southeast region exposed them to mindless extortion, with police officers demanding money at almost every checkpoint. In response, Adejobi encouraged Nigerians to refuse giving bribes and suggested that they endure delays rather than feeding into the corrupt system. The critical issue highlighted in the police spokesperson's response is the systemic nature of corruption within Nigeria's police force. Citizens routinely experience extortion at checkpoints, and this has become almost normalized. The NPF spokesperson appears to shift some of the responsibility to ordinary Nigerians, arguing that they enable corruption by giving bribes rather than standing their ground. He frames the issue as a two-sided problem. Citizens complain about the corruption they themselves help perpetuate. This approach, while addressing the role of citizens, raises a number of concerns. Some critics argue that Adejobi's message fails to address the inherent power dynamics at play. In many cases, ordinary Nigerians feel coerced into paying bribes out of fear for their safety or because of intimidation. To simply ask citizens to refuse to give bribes ignores the underlying reasons why they do so, namely, the potential for police brutality, arrest, or prolonged detention if they resist. While some critics also point out that the responsibility should lie more heavily on law enforcement itself, a deeply rooted culture of corruption cannot be effectively challenged by individuals if the institution perpetuating the corruption is not held accountable. While Adejobi's statement emphasizes patriotism and individual action, it seemingly downplays the structural issues within the police force, which allow such corruption to thrive. The police extortion at checkpoints, as described by Nigerians, highlights the use of intimidation by police officers to force citizens into compliance. The mention of a vehicle dropping money at every checkpoint reflects a deeper psychological toll on motorists. Most people feel compelled to pay bribes to avoid harassment, delays, or possible violence. In reality, many Nigerians may not feel they have the option to resist bribery without consequences. In a coercive environment, resisting extortion can lead to retaliation, including unnecessary searches, prolonged detention, or even physical harm. The suggestion that citizens choose to be delayed does not consider how vulnerable they might feel when stopped by armed officers with the power to make their lives difficult. Another critical point from this discussion is the issue of public trust in law enforcement. For the police to fulfill their constitutional roles, ensuring public safety and enforcing the law, they must be viewed as protectors, not as extortionists. However, the recurring incidents of police brutality, harassment, and extortion in Nigeria have created a deep mistrust between citizens and law enforcement. Many critics would argue that this type of behavior from police officers erodes public trust in the institution. Citizens are less likely to cooperate with or respect the police if their interactions are marred by corruption. The police are supposed to be the embodiment of justice and protection, and when they themselves break the law by extorting citizens, the fundamental relationship between the public and the police breaks down. The crux of the problem lies in systemic corruption within the police force, rather than isolated incidents. Citizens' experiences on the road are symptomatic of larger institutional failures within the Nigerian police force. To address this, systemic reform is necessary. While Adejobi's call for citizens to resist extortion might carry some merit, it fails to recognize that long-lasting change must come from within the police force itself. Many critics advocate for more aggressive reforms within the police structure, such as better training, higher wages for officers to reduce their dependence on bribes, and more transparent accountability mechanisms for officers caught extorting citizens. Citizens alone cannot be expected to bear the brunt of curbing corruption. The institution must lead the charge in creating an ethical police force. Adejobi's call to resist giving bribes can be seen as an attempt to mobilize Nigerians to actively participate in fighting corruption. However, his statement may come off as overly simplistic. The complex dynamics of police checkpoints, where people feel helpless and vulnerable, mean that asking citizens to merely act wise and patriotic might not be effective without more robust institutional support. From the citizens' perspective, Adejobi's message may feel tone-deaf. Many Nigerians already experience severe economic hardships, and the idea of being delayed further during their journeys without bribes can add to their frustration. Citizens are likely to feel trapped between a rock and a hard place. Either they pay the bribe or endure a long, stressful delay, potentially with further consequences from corrupt officers. Social media has become a powerful tool for exposing corruption and demanding accountability in Nigeria. By tagging police officials online, citizens seek immediate action against corrupt officers. Adejobi's warning against tagging him or the force after citizens have paid bribes might seem like he is dismissing their grievances, even though he is trying to encourage more proactive behavior. To foster a meaningful conversation, we must consider both sides of the argument: the individual's responsibility to resist bribery and the police force's duty to root out corruption. Viewers, readers, and listeners are encouraged to reflect on whether they believe Adejobi's stance is practical. Can everyday Nigerians realistically refuse to bribe police officers? Or does the situation demand broader institutional reform? What measures can be put in place to ensure that both citizens and police officers uphold the law? Should Nigerians refuse to give bribes despite potential delays or risks to their safety? What reforms should the police force prioritize to address corruption at checkpoints? Can social media advocacy make a difference in holding corrupt officers accountable? What do you think about the police public relation officer's response concerning the complaint of police extortions at highways? Your comments and opinions will help shape this ongoing discussion. I will see you again in my next update. Enjoy the rest of your day.